I'm making this video for the parents of small children and teenagers who don't realize the effect of giving a phone to a young person can have. And this is such a touchy subject. And actually, I don't even know if it's touchy. I think it's pretty much well agreed upon that phones can be something really destructive in a young person's life. There's countless movies, there's countless articles, there's research behind it. I'm not just saying this because I work with kids and teenagers, and I see them in my work life, personal life, just like surrounded. But you will notice how this has such a huge effect on teenagers, especially someone who grew up when these things were starting to come out. I think I was able to dodge a huge bullet by not having a phone until I was 18. And I'm not saying that it's 100% bad and 100% destructive, but I do think that as this new thing is coming, it's becoming so prevalent that we need to put more restrictions in place. And this is not about taking away freedom or choice. This is about, oh my God, this is about like young kids and what the research says and what we can actually basically see with our naked eye. Working with kids and seeing how one with a phone and one without a phone respond very differently to the outside world and just know different things and have completely different skill sets. And I think that's what's really important to know. When I once told an entire group of adults that they should stop letting their very young kids, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, post on TikTok. Because one, they're not legally supposed to, at least according to the app's guidelines. But also, I don't know if a lot of these parents, maybe it's like a Latino thing because they're all Latinos, but I don't know if these parents were fully aware of the dangers of posting online at a young age are. Like, when we're talking about chats, we're talking about following and unfollowing, we're talking about communication with strangers that you cannot see. There's none of that happening. There's no like regard like, oh, this is just the fun toy of the time. Phones have social media on them, they have internet on them, and I feel like I'm saying like the sky is blue. Like this is not like world breaking knowledge. But when I say it really is that phone, it's because what I'm noticing in young people is this inability to like have eye contact, and this is coming from someone who struggles with that till this day. Inability to hold a conversation. If you like have worked with a teenager at any point in your life, because maybe you were a cashier, maybe you were a barber, I don't know, if you've ever worked with a teenager and their answers are short, their answers are and their answers are I don't know. And it could be a personality thing, don't get me wrong, but it really is that phone. They don't know how to communicate in the same ways. And as a huge advocate for young people and the way that they live their lives and the way that they have been kind of thrust into this really confusing and broken world, I think giving them the benefit of doubt, giving them support is what they need. Giving them a phone is not what they need. And if you're thinking, well, what about safety? What about all of these other things? There's ways to give your kids technology that will keep them safe, keep them in communication, that don't have all of these other factors, don't have the apps, don't have the games and all those types of things. The games, but when I think about how a kid cannot be resolved unless they have a phone screen in front of them, it really worries me, because I think about those applications in the real world. If you have a child who's freaking out because they don't have their phone, then you basically have a child who doesn't know how to regulate themselves. They don't know how to like make themselves calm. They don't know how to think about maybe looking for another area of either entertainment or satisfaction or dopamine, whatever it is. They're not getting it anywhere else. They need to get it from this device. That's really worrisome. That is creating like this kind of like instant gratification. You can imagine how that goes. You can imagine how that can be a negative thing. And young people need time and space to be creative and not constantly be told everything wrong with them. If we're going to talk about strictly social media, you're talking about comparison. You're talking about constantly being told what's in and told what's out. You're seeing things that cost money and wanting to get them. Like it is. I'm imagining now that less and less teenagers are going out into stores and seeing the things that are for sale and are seeing them all online and have really no reason to really walk outside anymore. That's why when you're driving and you see kids actually throwing a frisbee and playing outside, because kids do actually have a lot of energy. They don't just want to do this all the time. They actually do want to go outside and do things sometimes, because that is really fun and it's really gratifying for their bodies to release that energy. So occasionally kids will go outside, especially if they have the push, especially if they have something to do outside and they feel like they have the appropriate tools or have someone to do it with. That is amazing. And when you do see a kid playing on the street or playing in their yard, it's kind of like seeing it's like seeing a UFO. It's like so rare that people are like, oh my god, look, there's a kid playing outside. And I'm not saying we suddenly need to have all of our kids playing outside. Again, especially with social media, we know what kind of world we live in. Things can get scary. But when it comes to what kids are learning online, what they're posting online, what they're consuming, and what they're learning about themselves online, and I do think that there needs to be some sort of literacy. There needs to be a way to navigate being online without with just like no training wheels, no nothing. You're just kind of thrown into the deep end, especially the parents who don't care to put parental supervision on their stuff. And I don't even think parental supervision is the answer, especially when I, again, have worked with a lot of young kids, and when I see what they're looking at their phone, I guarantee you any parent would be disgusted or shocked, at least, at some of the things that they can find on YouTube Kids, at some of the things that they can find on any like kids app where they feel like it's completely safe for a kid to be on. It's the same as PBS Kids. It is not the same as PBS Kids. Being mindlessly like watching other kids and other families get these PS5s and like do these crazy things and these crazy pranks is not the same as watching an educational program, which is what PBS Kids is. It is not the same as watching Cyberchase. It is not the same as watching Zoom or Fetch with Ruff Ruffman. It is not the same thing. These are two completely different regulated things. One is not very regulated. It's just kind of mindless, and it's kind of the same reason a lot of parents didn't like their kids watching SpongeBob. It's not educational, and it's not even this comes from a kid who really enjoyed SpongeBob. It's not educational, and a lot of parents feel that if their kids watch SpongeBob, it makes them stupid, because SpongeBob is not the smartest person. He is not the best role model. He is kind of going off of what's the silliest, not dumbest thing I can do at this moment, and it's good for comedy. It's very entertaining. And I'm not saying don't let your kids watch SpongeBob. I really don't want to like tell people what to do. Like, I'm just trying to make it more aware of why you have kids giving one-word sentences, why you have kids who don't know how to actually communicate with someone even their age, and who don't know how to play, who don't know how to think, and don't know how to write well, who don't know how to be creative. Like, if I ask a kid, please design something for me, I can remember distinctly as a child like loving that opportunity to just show off my skills. But it has definitely changed. It is a lot harder to get kids to do certain activities, and school's great because it's kind of a phone-free zone. But I've definitely walked, especially in the younger schools, but I've definitely walked onto a lot of campuses where there's middle and high schoolers who spend the entire class period like this. And again, I cannot take a phone away from a kid. That is theirs, you know? It is not mine. Especially if I am, if the school has no strong phone policy, if the school is like, there are some schools that require you to hang up your phone, but it is very hard to regulate that and enforce that for all 9 months of the school year, at every hour. It is very hard to do that. And then lunch, same thing. And it doesn't just worry me. I think it worries students as well, because some kids have shown a very large amount of restraint and self-discipline because they themselves have acknowledged this issue. I know teenagers who they themselves want to put timers on their Instagrams because they feel like they don't want to fall down the rabbit hole, and they don't want to be dumb. And I'm not saying if you spend all your time online, you're going to be dumb. These are kids who are actively aware of the problem, and these are kids from all ages, from all like backgrounds, who are just like, I don't want to be viewing these things so much. I feel like it's taking away from these other things that I really want to do and really want to accomplish, and that's a lot of strength and resilience. But teenagers are not idiots, and they can acknowledge and see the problem in the room, and although it's super gratifying to have a screen in front of you, it doesn't allow for boredom, which is necessary for creativity. The worlds that I was able to create up here and write books about and, eventually like make videos about could not have happened if I was constantly looking at a screen, constantly being entertained. I wanted to make the entertainment. I wanted to create that, and its creation is so important for young people, and it's so important for being human. But the things that kids learn online, it feels kind of like having a friend, and they don't feel the need to have their own. So if I find teenagers who are constantly telling me how they don't have friends, how they don't have anybody to talk to, and give me one word answers and can't really fulfill an entire conversation with me, but have no problem sending long messages or communicating all these communities online, or suddenly so talkative through a screen, that's a problem, and that's something that like needs to be addressed. And those are the types of situations where a lot of times those young people, those kids, don't realize that they have a problem. They don't realize that, because it feels nice, it feels comfortable to be able to communicate through a screen. They don't realize that this is a skill they need to be working on, and it is causing quite the depression and anxiety amongst young people. Again, you have comparison. Again, you have like all of these different things going on at once. And I'm noticing young people, again, they're not dumb. They're not dumb. I'm noticing young people pull away themselves. They don't want to post. They don't want to create online presentations of themselves. They're pulling away from that because honestly, too much is too much and enough is enough. And at some point, the phone doesn't gratify you. And when kids are outside playing and doing structured activities and doing all these things, and they're being fulfilled and they're having way more fun than they would on their phone, that doesn't mean that they're gonna put their phone away and never go back to it and suddenly the problem is solved. This is something that needs to be pushed. This is something that needs to be worked on. I'm worried about the kids that, learn certain things online, find their insecurities online, struggle, and make decisions based off of what they see, make purchases based off of what they see. And it's hard enough to compete with all the kids in your own school, but you're competing with every kid at every school in the whole world ever, and you're just constantly unhappy looking at what others have. And online community and social media is great for inspiration. It's great for like seeing what's out there. It's great for discovering and all of these things. And again, it's really hard to regulate that. It's really hard without feeling like you are in someone's privacy, especially if it's a teenager and they're older. If you're in someone's business, it's really hard. But I do think that phones are not the only way to find those inspirations. In fact, it's actually like, it's far from the only way. Just like casual and browsing and the internet and magazines and things that, like, if you have a child interested in fashion, you have Pinterest, you have magazines, you have the actual like stores. If you have a child who's interested in karate or like doing like stunt moves and like all these things, they exist. They are out there for them to do. And I don't know, a lot of parents don't know what their kids are like online because they seem to be like a completely different person online. Parents don't know what their kids are doing or what communities they're in, who they're talking to. I feel like this is such like common stuff because this is so wide. You're talking about social media, you're talking about the phone in general, you're talking about losing skills. This is so wide, and I don't even know if this video is all that helpful, but I do want to end on some alternatives. If you have a very young kid, please reconsider shoving a phone in their face to get them to either shut up or to have that be their toy, because again, I don't think it's bad for a child to like look at a phone for a few minutes. They become dependent on certain things, and if you're noticing your child is having a hard time being without the phone, that's not something that suddenly like gets better when they get older. I think there's some alternatives. You have Leapfrog, which if you want your child to be educated while also being distracted and having fun, Leapfrog is a great choice. They have like these phones, these laptops, these books, all these things that are electronic. They have a Gab phone, which I just found out about. It's basically a phone that doesn't have apps. So they can communicate with you, they can communicate with others, and they can call emergency services if needed. You have Tonybox, which is new. It's like this music player that's for young people, and it's really cool. I haven't actually met anyone with one, but I see them in the store all the time, and apparently people really love it. You have journals. You have things that can keep your kid occupied and creative, and this is going to create that engineering brain, that creative brain, that writing brain, that's problem solving brain. That is how you do that. But yeah, that is kind of just some alternatives. I know it is so hard when we are all busy and we're trying to survive and we're trying to make it, and on top of that there's a child who needs to not be running around and not doing all of these things, or you have a teenager who seems to be in their own world and hasn't shown much interest in you or anyone else or anything else, but each scenario the phone is there. And again, I'm not saying grab your kid's phone and go through it. That's not what I'm saying. Put them in sports. Put them in something creative where the phone is not in use. If you feel like after school it's just the phone and nothing else. Put them in a club. Get them a mentor. Get them in community activities. Get them volunteering. Get them to see different parts of the world through books or movies or whatever it is that you feel like they might need. And it is I'm asking you to put in effort, and it's so hard when you are trying to keep your head above water to also at the same time create an all well-rounded human being. It is so hard. And I don't have children for this reason, but like it's so much, and I applaud every parent who is doing the best that they can, because that's all you can do is the best that you can, and the best isn't always enough, especially if you want your kid to be the best person they can be, with all of your knowledge and will and all your power and more. And that's so hard. I didn't expect this video to be so long. I actually wanted to make a short video, but I applaud all the parents out there doing their best, because that's all you can do. But I just want you to know about these things. I want you to know that, the phone is not always a safe place. You might be shoving the worst depressive thing in your child's hand, and you could be creating lifelong problems, lifelong issues that they were going to have to unlearn when they're older. And right now it's not a problem. Right now it's fine for you. Right now it's fine for them. It's actually great for them and you. But these are the types of things that follow you. These are the types of lack of skills, communication. Those are the type of things that affect you when you go in for a job interview. Those are the type of things that keep you from getting the promotion. Those are the type of things that take a long time in adulthood to unlearn. And I don't think your child's going to come back to you and say, it's your fault for giving me the phone all the time. Or maybe they will, I don't know. But again, there's some super well-aware teenagers. But I remember being a kid and just telling my mom, like, why are you letting me watch so much TV? Like, you should be forcing me to read textbooks or something. Like, I wanted to be the best version of myself that I could be. And my mom was only ever doing her best. All she could do was love me and feed me and make sure that I felt seen. And as much as she would, like, try to keep up with, like, my antics. But yeah, please, if you are a parent watching this, I'm not trying to tell you how to parent. Absolutely not. I just want you to be aware of these things. And the same thing goes for if you're a teenager watching this. You have the willpower that you don't even understand. You have the strength and you have the ability to kind of become the person that you may not even know that you want to be. You have the ability to become whomever, because you are at such a point where you have so much control, and it might feel like you have no control, but that's not the truth. You are in control of you, and the actions you make consistently is what makes you. And those things, although can break and unravel, those are hard. So make the consistent choices that are going to make you the person you are, because your thoughts become your actions and your actions become your life. So it's work. I hope that this made sense. I hope that people don't feel offended by this. I really just want parents to know And I didn't even go deep. I didn't even scratch the surface. I didn't talk about statistics. I didn't talk about any of that stuff. But I just want parents to know, and teenagers as well, that this is hard, and having a kid is hard. And it hurts as a parent, must, when you have a kid that you brought into the world, that you feel like you worked so hard bringing them up, and you work so hard every day providing, who doesn't know how to talk to you, who doesn't know how to respond to you, who doesn't really feel all there, doesn't really feel like a person, or they feel depressed, or they feel sad, and you're like, what? I don't understand. I'm giving you what you need. I'm giving you a roof over your head, the food on the table. What more could there be? And it really is that phone. Like, it's work to get out of that. Yes, be conscious of the things that you give your kid access to. Okay? And no YouTube, especially if they're kids. No YouTube. Okay. Bye. It's so funny as I'm on YouTube saying it. Bye.